Hi, and welcome again to Find Your Inner Flavor. We are the co-hosts of this YouTube show and iTunes.
Well, we hope it's YouTube.
Well, we hope.
As long as it gets uploaded.
We're good.
Lacey.
We're good, Lacey.
Oh, yeah.
We're good.
We
got it up there. We are the co-owners of SymBowl. We're located in Chesterfield, Kirkwood, and
St.
Charles, Missouri. And today we have a group of guests with us, a little bit younger than usual. We asked them to come on to the first show because typically we are drinking. And by the
So
third
before we
show,
get
we're
sloshed,
a little bit,
you guys got to get out of here.
So we're like going, it's probably safer to have them come in first and get. Yeah,
well, part of, from the very beginning of our restaurants, we recognized that not only were we business owners, but in a lot of respects, we were building a family. We've made jokes about our businesses being our babies. Our real children have all worked in the restaurants, and we find it as a good way of just educating, communicating, and being in touch with our employees.
We're pretty much of an open book kind of a restaurant. Like when we hire somebody on, we teach them and we show them everything. Greg comes from a culinary teaching background. I come from a training background. So that's just natural for us. So when we got introduced to Spark, which is who our guests are with, is Spark, we've got Valerie, Hayden, and Kaloeb. Valerie, Kaloeb, and Hayden.
Yeah, so Spark is a class, I guess, from the Parkway School District. So here in St. Louis area.
Hayden's
Parkway School District. So we'll turn over.
So Spark's pretty amazing. Basically, we have a bunch of mentors that come into our Spark space, which is at the Chesterfield Mall. And basically, it's this big open room where there's couches and there's a tech bar and there's different places where you can sit around, lounge around. Sit in big beanbag chairs.
He almost said lingerie.
That's
what he almost.
It would have got a little interesting as Spark. We were all lingerie.
I think Victoria's Secret might not be there anymore.
But no, we sit there and then we all meet in the morning. There's a bunch of students. There's about 30 students in there.
It kind of reminds you of one of those Apple or Google
like
office spaces.
Super weird.
Our friends at Square, who we use for our processing, it makes me sick going in there.
It's a lot of fun. It's just a lot of fun.
Some dude on a skateboard.
They bring lunches in, all kinds of stuff.
Anyway, so keep going.
We have
great
lunches.
for a creative space.
Absolutely, and we all work together. That's the biggest part of it is that we all want to be together. It's a big open space where we're also together. You can do your own thing, but you're also bouncing ideas off one another and talking to one another. And then throughout the day, different mentors come in. Like for me personally, one of my biggest mentors would be Russ Traeger. He was in the shoe business, worked for Brown Smith Wallace, and he's just an amazing guy. We call him the Spark Grandpa. He's absolutely amazing. He's an older guy, but what he always says, I'm a Generation Z trapped in a baby boomer's body. And I love him to death. He's awesome. He's helped me along the way tremendously. As well as people like Ken Sheehan, who's there every day talking to us, giving us basic life tips and also business tips on how to just run each day and make each day better and progress as a human and as a business and a little entrepreneur. And that's kind of how I fell in love with Spark, was becoming basically my own person. It was my own entity, and being my own person was kind of awesome to see.
Xantha's going to start tearing up here in a minute.
Yeah, absolutely.
So shout out to real quick Xantha, who is basically the coordinate director.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and she's awesome, and not just Xantha, but also Dr. Stanfield and Dr. Marty, who Dr. Marty is our superintendent, and he has always been a huge supporter of this program and bringing a different kind of education system to students like us, and it's amazing.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like Spark is it's easier to explain what it's not than what it is.
Absolutely.
It's great.
It's not a classroom. It's not like at school when you go sit in a classroom for an hour and a half, the teacher lectures, you take notes, and then you leave. It's not like that. It's you have an end goal, but it's kind of your job to figure out how you get there and what steps you need to take. And it's really awesome that we get to do this now while we're still young and in high school, as opposed to 25 when we were 25, when we're on our own. Because now if we mess up or fail or something, there's something something that we could fall back on, as opposed to later when we were trying it on our own.
So you're planning on being on your own at 25. Just put that out there now.
Yeah.
There's no basement dwelling.
Well, no, I think I guess kind of when we're older, in the sense that it's kind of our job to figure it all out
You're
on our own, but we don't have.
You're having to use skills that make you think and strategize as to how to figure things out, rather than just having a lecture and homework
Notes.
and a test to take.
I think Spark, it bridges the gap between really being in high school and actually going out and living your own life. It's like a lot of kids leave high school and they have no idea what they're going to do. And then they go to college, and a lot of kids get out of college and still don't have any idea of what they're going to do.
I think if there was a program like this for me, I wouldn't have felt so lost, because I remember my junior year in high school, and everybody like knows where they're going to college at, knows what they're doing. And I was one of them that was sitting there going, yeah, college isn't really for me. I don't really know what to do. I don't know where I belong. I came from a very entrepreneurial mindset. Didn't even know what that word meant at that time. But my parents owned businesses, all that kind of stuff. It just didn't make sense to me. Nobody knew how to explain that. So I think that this is phenomenal, what's happening. And there is a value when you have nothing that you're responsible for. You don't have a car payment. Well, you maybe do, but you don't have a house payment. You don't have bills that you have to pay. You don't have kids you have to take care of. You have the full freedom to use your mind and your creativity to just explore what possibilities there are.
Yeah, and I mean, Spark gives us those mentors that help us along the way, and like we still have to find our own connections, but it's kind of like a good baseline, as opposed to later on we would have to start from scratch and find all of them on our own.
Right.
So,
I think a lot of it why we like it, even though none of our kids don't go to Parkway schools.
Boo.
Sorry, Kirkwood.
When you don't live in a
it's
Parkway
okay.
school,
Kirkwood will destroy.
can't really
Parkway is the only way.
But because a lot of respects, that's how we treat our employees. We're a little different. We don't want employees. My goal is that everybody that works for us can basically replace us. That is still one of my Rob, who isn't here and who quit on us to go work for somebody else, but way back when,
he's not bitter at
all.
Right.
Way back when, I mean, he's a great example of someone who essentially was an employee. He left, got educated, did his own thing, came back, worked for us, helped us out a lot, and then went on to find something different. It doesn't bother me at all, because that's really the end goal of being a owner / boss, whatever, mentor, is I want people that can replace me. I want to have a new cook that comes on and has no experience that can build the skills to replace and continue to grow.
Yeah.
So it's almost like a family.
Well,
it's a family, but
it's also, you shouldn't view things or people as competition.
Right.
Because the reality
Or a commodity.
or a commodity, because the reality is you can't get further ahead unless you replace yourself.
yeah, if I'm
Yeah.
stuck doing what I'm doing because there's no one that can come along behind me, then I'm here forever.
So we were introduced to Spark because one of the Spark students was a regular customer in our restaurant and asked for us to come speak one day. So we had never heard of Spark. We had no idea. We just knew we were coming and talking. And there is something exciting when you can walk into a room of 16, 17, 18-year-olds that are excited to have you there, and you start listening to the
And
questions.
a massive amount of office supplies.
Yeah, a lot of office supplies.
Wow.
I have
And
Post-it
there
notes
were,
for years.
it was just engaging. And when you can realize, nobody can make it in this world without mentors. I'm a strong believer. If you don't have mentors, if you don't have teachers, if you don't have people that you can ask questions to, you're really going to struggle. So, and we had a lot of those when we were starting our business over 5 years ago. So we looked at Spark as being an opportunity to kind of give back and say, hey, here we go. As business owners, doing this for as long as we have, you can also get really bitter and you can get really cold. So you guys kind of freshen that up for us, we may sound bitter and cold still, but it kind of keeps us alive in regards to that. So let's go into talking about pitching, because we're mentoring right now.
Yep.
And part of what the mentor's job is to help students identify what their business concept is and then come up with a plan, because you guys are getting ready to do a pitch on Thursday.
So kind of
Right.
Shark Tank style, correct?
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So explain
So you
what
have
the
4 days.
Explain what the pitch is.
both of us look
Ooh,
directly
Caleb?
together.
Okay, that's all you.
Okay, so the pitch is basically there's 3 magic words that you have to articulate in your pitch, right? You have to articulate people, who's going to do what, the process that you have in place and kind of the business that you're actually developing, and then is this idea actually, is it going to make money? Is it a feasible
Do you wanna
business?
buy it?
Right? Well, is there a market for what you're doing? And as long as you do that, your pitch is pretty solid. But then on top of that, a lot of it is just telling your story and why you building this business it actually matters.
And we have 5 minutes for this pitch on Thursday, the 28th. It's actually at Spark. We have 5 minutes to do this pitch and try to convey all these things to a panel of judges who are business owners and business entities, people in the business world.
They don't know us.
That don't know us, that are going to be standing there judging us. And there is, I believe, a reward if you win.
There's $500.
There's
I think.
$500.
Yeah, because a
For,
lot
like,
of these
business
pitches
startup.
you guys are making, I mean, somebody's getting some money to put into their startup for their company.
Yeah, because there have been businesses formed out of this
Oh, yeah, for sure.
program.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yep.
for sure.
Some of the biggest ones are like Blaine Thomas and Drew Rogers, who are now at Mizzou. They have the Bridge, which is at Mizzou. It's the storefront basically that promotes local and like people in college, like at Mizzou. And they built this from and they had this idea at Spark. I don't remember exactly what they did in Spark, but they took all these lessons and applied for scholarships from everything they learned from Spark. And now they're basically running the Mizzou campus.
One of my best friends, she's been a childhood friend for the longest time, Lisa Tarakanova. She developed Treadbed, and she's in New York
amazing.
at Mercy College now. We're both, we have family friends and stuff, so we've known each other for the longest time. And it's like amazing to see what she got out of just being a part of this program, because it's kind of like people don't really expect much from high schoolers. Like they don't expect that high schoolers have the ability to go beyond what is taught, like, what is high school. Like, and it's kind of like, it's really cool to kind of show people and use ourselves as examples of like, yeah, we can do more than just what
Just
is
go
in
to school.
just going to school and
Doing
sitting in
homework.
classrooms
We have
and doing
real
homework.
ideas and-
But what the mentors are doing is they're connecting you with people that can help put business plans
Yes.
together, trademarks together,
Yep.
patents
Yep.
in place, and money. I mean, money shows up along the way in a lot of these opportunities as well, and they actually turn into legitimate businesses.
It's really amazing because there's such a big Spark community of mentors and people, like all these connections. And like as being part of Spark, if we need somebody for like, let's say we need a patent lawyer, or it doesn't really matter, anybody, we can reach out, and chances are somebody in the community will know somebody who will
Right.
be willing to help us. And that's
And
like where all
as-
these connections come into play.
And as mentors, we have met a lot of people.
Absolutely.
David Deck has been one that
guy.
we sat down with, and he's been extremely helpful and beneficial. And these are people that we would have never met. So there's a win-win situation across the board. So let's get down
let's
to
get
this. You guys ready to
nitty-gritty.
pitch?
Ooh.
Sure.
Who's going first?
Okay, Hayden's gonna go first.
That sounded
All right.
very.
Who's
yeah.
going first?
I guess I'll talk first. So
No, you're not.
You want to
you're
go?
not.
Oh, but Caleb
I'm
third.
excited, I'm
Okay.
excited.
You're
I'm excited.
pitching.
I'm
first.
pitching.
Okay.
So in the 7th grade, I really fell in love with the whole concept of bow ties. I liked that it was kind of a pattern, and tying it was like a puzzle, and putting it together and finishing it was like, wow, that really creates this whole different artistic side of who I am, and what I can convey to people is that, hey, I'm a little bit different, but I'm also accepting that, and I'm walking through life, and I'm really comfortable doing this. And so around school, I kind of became known as the kid that wore bow ties. People always looked at me like, hey, that's Hayden Crandall. He's got his bow tie on. That's nothing new. And so I kind of became my thing, and I wore bow ties all the way through high school. And I remember one day specifically, going into my junior year, I was getting ready for the first day of school, and I was wearing this really crazy outfit, like, I don't know, yellow pants and like a pink shirt.
I think I saw you in the halls.
Yeah, something
hard to miss.
really crazy. Yeah, really hard to miss. Super extravagant, way out of the box, just super out there. And I was like, I don't have a tie that can match my pants and my shirt. This is a problem. What am I gonna do? And so I was sitting there, and I had these 2 ties, and I was like, okay, which one do I pick? I got the one that has pink and stuff in it, pink and green. That looks kind of cool. Or I've got, yellow and blue. I'm like, but what if they were together? And so I ended up cutting the bow ties in half, and using a paper clip or like a bobby pin to hold the 2 together. And then I wore that tie to school, and then people were like, wow, that's amazing. Like, what'd you do? I'm like, oh, I just cut that in half. And I was like, that's what I want to do for my company. Because I was going into Spark. I had just started Spark. So I'm like, okay, here's what I want to do. So I got to Spark with this idea. I'm like, hey, I want to create mix and matchable bow ties. Why can't I have the best of both worlds, create the really identical like patterns to your to who you are. So I went in and we went through a bunch of different prototypes, including using buttons, using clip design, and then we ended up landing on Velcro, and Velcro seemed the easiest. So basically what it does, you can lay the two on top of each other, and then unstick them and keep going, keep mixing, keep matching. And also all through last year, I worked really hard on getting the prototype down, seeing if people liked it, getting the pattern right, making sure the whole design people liked, finding really good materials and everything. And we end up wanting to use 100% silk because that's the nicest feel. I don't want it to make it feel like any cheap homecoming bow tie or anything. I want it to be something really nice that people appreciate and wear because, I mean, the bow tie market's huge. People wear ties and bow ties to work every day, and everyone spends a really good amount on their ties. Like, it's a very personable thing for a lot of people. And so I went through the whole year, and I didn't make a whole lot of sales or anything. I didn't get to the point where I needed to, so I ended up hiring two guys on my team. I've known them for a really long time, Andrew Morrison and Ben DiMartino. They joined my team, and Ben is like one of the most brilliant people I've ever met. I've known him since about second grade, and he is amazing with numbers. He's amazing about that whole aspect. That's the side I don't like. So he came in, he's like, all right, here's what we need to do, this, this, and this. Get that done. Here's, you're all right, you're in charge of that, you do that. And then Andrew, he's really great at marketing. He was really good at marketing class and like always was the next step ahead of everybody. And I was like, okay, so here's what I want you to do to take this to the next level, reach different markets, meet different people. And so as of right now, I think we're on a really good track to get the first orders sent. We're going to be taking pre-orders this week. We're starting pre-orders. So everyone that buys now will eventually, within the next month or so, get their tie in the mail. You can go to our website, www.twistedbowties.com, and you can look at what we have coming up on the website, and I'm really excited about that.
So what's your price point?
So our price point is about $45 per half. Basically, if you buy, that seems kind of out there, but if you think about it, if you buy one half and another half, and let's say buy a third one, that's already 6 different combinations you have for different ties right there. You can keep going. As you buy more, you're only expanding your vocabulary, I guess you'd say, for how many ties you have.
How many friends do you know have $90 to invest in a bow tie?
A lot, because they're spending upwards of $400 on their prom outfits, upwards of $300 on their homecoming outfits.
Which is a special event. So would they pay another $90 on a bow tie?
I think absolutely yes.
How many have you sold?
None yet.
Okay, so this is
you.
and this is the feedback that we gave you
Right.
when you pitched this to us, is be cautious of who it is that is purchasing it, and we had suggested that we think that that you have 2 levels to the bow tie. I love the silk side of things. However, a lower price point may be something for you to consider and look at as well, because this is about how many can you sell.
Absolutely.
Not just selling one here,
Right.
selling one there. And what's your cost in the product?
It's gonna be around $8 for.
You're crazy. You're crazy that you're selling it for that much. I'm telling you right now, you're crazy. You're selling. You have to get this out.
We need some volume.
Now this is where, this
Yeah,
is where
we
you
need
get
volume.
mentor.
Okay.
You get mentor passion in
Lay it
here.
on, let's hear it.
Because you guys, this is the thing that you guys start getting focused on, is how much money can I make?
Well,
Right.
so you have a difference between, and I would imagine you have your percentage, your cost percentage, but then you also have your profit margin.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really easy. I've seen it in the restaurant industry all the time. People get so fixated, I have to have 30% food costs on my plate. Well, depending on what that cost of good is, there's a big difference in your profit margin. At the end of the day, for like a restaurant and for you, you make money per sale. Mm-hmm. You know, for me, it's every butt in the seat is X amount of dollars. So I could sell a burger for $10 at 30% cost. Make $7. If I sold a filet or a steak that cost me $5 at 30%, now I'm gonna have to charge $16 or whatever. Well, I'm making $9 on that. But most people will say, oh, I have to charge, if I'm doing 30%, that steak has to be, $20-something. But I'm not gonna sell as many. Mm-hmm. I can cut the cost on that. I can raise my percentage to 50% and be making more money.
Right.
So you have to, there is a game between a hard percentage and what you're actually getting per unit sold.
Right.
So don't get fixated on, I have to be 4 times my cost.
And you can always go up in value. What you can't do is start selling it at this much and then go way down because now you just
eroded your value.
Makes
so
sense.
just be cautious of that. That's all I'm going to say. I worked in retail for a long time, and majority of the time, what it winds up being is whatever your cost winds up being. You would then have a wholesale price, and then you have a retail price, and the store wants to double their price. It's 100% markup when it comes to it. You have a lot of room to play in it. So I'm going to say, don't be greedy when it comes to the money, because right now it's about building a brand and getting it out there. We were impressed and excited when we heard about your product. We lost momentum when we heard what you were charging for it. So that's our feedback for you.
Yeah.
But
And then
I think it's a
the
great.
only thing is limited quantities.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, limited.
You can artificially inflate your own value by, I only have 50 sets of this.
Right.
Yeah.
You can tie it into all sorts of political or philosophical things.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but I think I love the idea.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I love the idea.
I have two of my 3 are bow tie wearing kids.
Awesome.
Kirkwood High School, another shout out, their cross country team. It's bow ties at all their events.
Awesome.
And it's a tradition. The older kids teach the younger kids how to tie them. It's actually pretty cool.
That's really cool.
Totally up their alley.
But you want those kids videotaping things, posting it on Instagram, Snapchat, that kind of stuff.
Those
And
kids I
they're
need to
not all
talk
going to
to.
have that price. They're not all
No.
going to be able to afford something like
Absolutely,
that.
that's totally
So keep
fair.
that in mind. Okay.
Thank you a bunch.
You're welcome.
I guess I'm next. Sorry, I didn't want to go last.
And Valerie.
I'll go last. Saving the best for last year, That's positive.
Okay, Valerie, go for it.
All right. So last year, for my whole life, I've always been kind of a nerd. I try hard in school, and now I'm realizing it's not necessarily all about that. You do need to try, but it's now becoming less of set grades. It's more of what am I learning? But I've always tried so hard in my classes, and teachers, there are certain things they require for each class. Some teachers say you need a binder. A lot of classes have textbooks, and those pile up when you have 4 or 5 classes a day, and each one needs a textbook, a binder, a notebook, plus your planner and your pencils and your pens, and some classes require a laptop. It kind of just depends. And it got to the point where I was having severe back issues as a result of a really heavy backpack. It was kind of just hanging off my shoulders, and I could barely lift it to get it on. I had a lot of neck issues and shoulders and back and spinal cord. It was changing its shape. It got pretty bad. And so when I got to Spark, I thought, what do I want to do? And that's something that really stood out to me, is that, I was having back issues, and I knew other people who were going through the exact same thing, and a lot of high school students do, because you can't really change what you need to bring for class. It's kind of, your grade is dependent upon it. So we decided to create, we being my partner, Haley Pearl, we decided to create a backpack that has back support, and that is specifically designed to improve your health as opposed to, injure you, basically. Because school is supposed to be about, furthering your future and learning all these things, and we don't want your health being kind of dragging you down because of that. So basically what we came up with is a backpack. It has a in-strap system inside of it, so it straps in your books and textbooks, putting all the weight against your back. And there will be a back brace kind of assembled inside of the spine of the backpack that will make it go against the curvature of your spine. So essentially what we're doing is we're putting all of the weight of whatever's in the backpack onto your hips and on your legs, which are designed to carry, your body weight, as opposed to your shoulders, which will just pull you back, and then that's when the injuries happen. So we're working on developing these guys have been in Spark for a year. This is my first year,
Okay.
so nothing really has happened. We're just trying to throw out ideas, pitches, and we're working up the design and what it's going to manufacturing and all of that right now. So that's kind of where we are. We think it's going to be. We hope that it's going to be easier to market, just because we are high school students, and social media and stuff. Thousands of followers, between the two of us, we go to 2 different Parkway schools, so we can spread out to both. And we think the students would be a good market, as well as the parents, because I mean, parents care about their children's health. And another thing that we're going to really hit hard on is durability. Students go through backpacks. You have to buy multiple ones throughout the year. None of them really like last the entire time, especially like more than 1 year. That's really never happened to me before. And so we're going to focus on durability and making sure that the backpack is strong enough and durable enough to go through multiple years of high school, college, whatever school you're in. Some even for professionals, a lot of professionals now use backpacks. So that's kind of where we are right now.
Okay.
Working to develop it and just kind of see where it takes us.
The first thing that comes to my mind because we've listened to Hayden's pitch. So this is the first time we're listening to you guys about your businesses. First thing that comes to my mind is it's like a hiking backpack. Is that kind of what you envision it to be? No, nothing like that.
Well, that's kind of when we started doing research. A lot of hiking backpacks have a lot of cool features that are like, because they're designed, hiking backpacks have a lot of weight to them. But there's really not much out there for school backpacks. And even the ones that they're very, a really good thing that's for your back is a waist strap that comes around to the front. But looking at it from like a high school perspective, I would never wear that.
Like
I would never wear that.
Right.
I would not wear. And also, like, when you're running from class to class, our school is huge. We don't have if you're running from one to you don't have enough time to stop, adjust your strap. And so that's kind of also something that we're kind of going with that is trying to make it good for your health while still making it fashionable for students.
Do you have any relationships with chiropractors?
Yes. So we have contacted chiropractors, and then we also talked to Washington University physical therapists because I did a WashU program this summer. So I met a couple people there. So I had reached out to them, and all of them had basically said in the end the same thing: is focus on putting the weight onto your hips and because when you wear a backpack, essentially it's all pulling down this way, and that's when the injuries happen. So they said put it on your hips and on your weight, make it fit to the back, and that's when the weight will stop pulling down on your shoulders, and it'll sit on what's meant to carry the weight.
I would almost encourage you to try and find a chiropractor to partner with on this.
That's what,
because I mean, it makes so much sense.
You get their credibility.
Right.
Yeah, that's
and if
actually
there's
something
any way of you for this pitch having a chiropractor if you could record if you could record a chiropractor just talking about what a backpack does, because now you have somebody who's professional and you have an iPad in there and you just show that video for 2 minutes or whatever it is, you just nailed your pitch. Yep. So you put value on where the expert is at. The other thing in your pitch, and I noticed this with you, slow down.
I'm a debater. I talk really fast.
Actually,
that was something I pushed a lot last year. Was speeding.
Also, both of you, and Caleb, you getting the benefit by going last. Make sure you're saying who you are and your name.
And
get
what
it
the
out.
product is.
Yeah. Because I had to wait for both of you several steps in before I knew what the hell you were trying to sell me. I wanted first and foremost.
Okay.
But the value that you both bring is that you're passionate about something, because like for you, it was a fashion thing that you did, and you recognized an opportunity when you didn't have something.
Right.
And for you, it was like, I have gone through these health issues in the past, and I don't want to continue doing it. And there's a lot of people. It's a huge market out there for this.
Yeah.
I mean, there are chiropractors that do backpack fittings for people when school starts. Because there is a huge need for it.
Well, it is, but then you're right. That sort of urban briefcase sort of thing, because there's so many people that commute. And I mean,
we were talking
kids'
to
godparents live up in Chicago, and when we were on the L, I mean, I don't think anyone had a traditional
lot of
briefcase. It was backpacks.
A lot of mentors were saying on planes, business class people who fly, they always have backpacks as their carry-on.
Yeah.
But so that's something you need to make sure that when you're designing, it fits.
Yeah, it
the
fits all.
TSA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's something stupid, but what happens if you design and you're 2 inches too big? Oh, you're like, crap.
Well,
Now
that's
we
another
can't
thing
take
is
this on a
that
damn
back
plane.
brace, everyone's curvature, everyone's height is different. So that will be adjustable within the backpack. We would be able to move it up or down depending on your height to see where it would fit onto your back.
Well, I'm
that's
excited.
what a lot of
I'm excited to
really
see where
this one, too.
yours winds up taking. Going. And I'm glad you're
sure.
only a junior and you have a whole year and almost a half too. Get it developed.
But yeah, I would say the last bit you said about quality, it is annoying. I have 3 boys, and sure you get the super sale or whatever on a backpack, and it's $25 or whatever, but 3 of them and $25 and every
Multiple
single
times.
year, or
thing
if
is,
you make it a year.
If it's all at the same time, like
Yeah.
beginning of school. So for kids, like some people have like 4 or 5 kids in their family. So
It's a
not only do you
lot.
need school supplies for all
August
4 or 5
sucks.
kids, you also
As a
need
parent,
the backpack
August
to
is
put it
You're
in.
not having to replace all backpacks the same year.
Yep.
Yeah.
You hope you get
Okay,
lucky.
so let's move
Yep.
this
You got-
on. Best for last.
You got 5 minutes. Knock it out.
Okay, my name's Kaloeb Salter, and I own a company called B-Cube Media. Basically, what we do is we help small business owners better tell their story using social media and their website. So I started this company when I was 14 years old, living on the Gulf Coast in Mississippi. I'll get into my story a little bit later, but one big problem that I saw was that small business owners are using social media as a sales tool. And the big problem with that is that they're attracting the wrong type of customers, because when you use social media as a tool solely for sales, you're pushing price and your hours and all of the things you do with traditional media. But that really disengages the type of people that you want to follow you and only engages the people that are focused solely on price. So what that does is when your competition undercuts you, they're going to go to them. But if you tell your story on social media and use it as a relationship building tool, you can attract the right type of followers that are going to follow you because they like your business, not your prices. So that's what I help small business owners do. I started out in the IT field when I was really little. I got my first computer at 2 years old, and instantly took a screwdriver to it and took it apart and just wanted to see how it worked. Yeah, my parents were they reacted in a very interesting way. My dad got me another computer, and I took that one apart. And 4 or 5 computers later, I guess I realized maybe if I'm taking these things apart, I should learn how to put them back together. So that was at about 6 or 7 years old, and I was like, okay, I'm going to learn to fix computers. And that moved into me starting my first business at 9 years old out of my parents' basement. I was buying computers on Craigslist and repairing them and then reselling them on eBay. From there, we lived in Indiana at the time. We moved to Mississippi, and my dad said, Kaloeb, the computers have to go. So because we're in the military, so we only have a certain amount of weight that we can move, and I got rid of carloads of stuff. And we still were over the weight limit. So wow. I moved to Mississippi, and I'm like, crap, what do I do now, right? I had like this whole thing that I loved doing, but I didn't have the stuff to do it. So at that point, I was like, okay, I'm going to start a bow tie company, because I loved bow ties as a little kid, just like Hayden. Just like Hayden, I love bow ties, but I wanted to do something. I wanted to sell bow ties online, because there was only one other person doing it, and I'm like, I can do that better. I'm this little 11-year-old kid, like, I can do bow ties better. So I went out and learned all this web marketing stuff, took the money I got for Christmas and paid for hosting through GoDaddy for a year. And I learned to build a website on my own with some books and YouTube, a lot of YouTube. And I got to the point where I could build my own website. And the bow tie company failed because I could not produce the bow ties. But I had all of this knowledge on web marketing, right? So I spent the next year, and I'm like, I got to get good at this if I'm ever going to do it for anybody else. So then I landed my first client, who was a clothing company in South Mississippi, and then grew from there and just grew and grew and grew. And then I moved to St. Louis about a year ago. And that's when I was introduced to Spark. I was the first sophomore in the incubator ever, which was pretty cool. The ride situation was a little interesting because I couldn't drive. So I had to get rides back to school every day, and then my dad would come and drop me off in the morning. And it was phenomenal. And I started building the business, but I was doing everything on my own. And one thing I was doing is I was just undercutting all of my competitors by about half. And I realized
you don't have bills to pay.
Because I don't have bills to pay, right? It was phenomenal. I'm like, everybody wants to work with me because I'm way cheaper than everybody else. But I realized that's really not the answer, because how can I provide a really good quality product if I don't have the money to hire the right team? So this year I moved into doing none of the website work, none of the copywriting work. I'm just the guy that leads the team of people to go and do the cool stuff. And now we're creating a better quality product. The amount of business that I've been able to grow in a month and a half. Just having myself as a sales role and a leadership role in the organization has been about 4 times what we were doing closer to the
So
beginning
what
of the
makes
year.
you different and unique than any of the other ones out there?
That's an amazing question. I have 2 big things that make me different from everybody else. And I understand that I'm not necessarily the right fit for every business. There's agencies in town that focus just on restaurants, and I refer people that want to work with me that have restaurants. I'm like, you might want to check these people out because they're focused on this niche. But what I do very differently is I allow small business owners to finance out their website. So our price point is comparable to the high end of Squarespace without actually having to put in all of the work that you'd have to put into Squarespace.
Carrie and Lacey, can you guys get his contact information before we leave, please?
You see, because the
Sorry,
big problem
Trish.
is with Squarespace, you have to go in and do all the work, and you have to set up the website.
Yeah.
It takes so much time. And if you're a business owner, you don't have that time. So what I do is I help you set up your website, write the copy, get all of it down pat. And then because we allow you to finance, you can get the payments down to like $100 a month, and your website's
So
good to
my
go.
husband actually owns a web development and internet marketing company. And he started when he lost his job at 29 years old. He was in retail, had worked for a family-owned business for over 12 years. This was his end-all, be-all. It was paying all of our bills. And then all of a sudden, overnight, he was let go. And he refused to go back to work for somebody. We did not own a computer at the time. And we had a friend who was selling websites, and he's like, okay, well, if he can do it, I'm sure he can help me, teach me how. And we've had the business now for, I want to say 15, 16 years, something like that. But he self-taught himself everything and learned along the way. So I'm happy to introduce him to you because he probably has referrals he can send to you because he doesn't want to do all of the work.
definitely love referrals.
So make sure that we have all of your contact information. But here's the thing. Here's the thing that you have is confidence. You have confidence because you have experience. So don't take that as a negative in what it is that you're doing. With experience comes the confidence.
However, the one thing he also doesn't have is a tangible good.
Yes,
So that's a
something
challenge.
I've experienced. That's very difficult for a lot of when I pitch. It's difficult for a lot of people to get what I do. So the biggest thing that I like to show is like, hey, I've done this actual work, and this has made my clients money. It's a real thing, right? And I actually drive results.
You're
So
also-
what
there's
do you use to quantify that? I mean, how do you get that across? Because I know as small business owners, I look at, the amount that hard advertising costs, like in paper,
Yes.
and it's astronomical. And I sit there and I look and say, okay, I'm going to pay $500 for this. That means I have to have 100 customers before it's even break-even time. These guys have something it's a good in hand.
Yeah.
People can hold. How do you get that across? How do you show the value?
So the biggest thing for me is a lot of people get that social media is this valuable thing, right? They're like, I can make money on it. I just don't exactly know what the formula is to do that. So the biggest thing that I like to show people is, hey, people are buying you. They like you. They want to understand why your business is special. And really, I don't know if this is answering the question, but
I'm going to pause you for a
Yeah.
second because I actually think you have a product that you haven't.
Yes.
You have no idea you have yet, and that is that you are an expert in communicating how to make your marketing work. And if you actually position yourself as an expert in that, and you are the product now, it isn't about you selling a website or social media advertising because. There's a lot of companies out there doing that. As an investor, that's not going to be super appealing to me, but you are appealing to me. And I would say that if you write a book with the step-by-step as to what it is, and you're selling that book for 99 cents, and you're collecting a database of people, if you're familiar with ClickFunnels or any of those web platforms, you understand that process, now you have something that's really valuable. So I would say kind of look in that arena. I think you're on the brink of something, but I don't think you've quite grasped the potential and it's your own knowledge. Does that make sense to you?
That makes sense. I think one big thing that I'm doing is just helping business owners use the resources they already have, because a lot of business owners have people within the business that could be helping them produce marketing material for social media, and they're not, because the business owner just hasn't put those systems aren't in place, right? So what I help business owners figure out is how can we use what we already have to make more money.
Right.
And then just implementing systems that are really simple, but just might not seem like something that they should do until we kind of uncover that value.
I think you guys are doing a great job. I'm excited for you for Thursday.
Yeah.
Thank you.
To hear and see what happens.
Well,
so
3
do you
great
guys,
ideas.
Yeah. Do you guys have any questions for us? I think we just have a few more minutes left.
No, we have like no minutes left. But
Are we like?
Ooh.
Did you already do this?
Oh
I never
my
even
God.
saw it. Oh my gosh.
So
Okay.
engrossed in the stories.
I never saw it. Matt has to go stand in the corner and go like this or something like that. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. We want to thank you guys for joining us today. Excited to hear the stories as they unfold moving forward. Again,
Well, absolutely. I mean, just basically, it's just rewarding to see. I mean, because you're our future customers. None of you can vote yet, but it looks like it's okay that maybe you can. It is good to see that there is growth still out there. Because you guys got the shit end of the stick with the millennial population.
Yeah.
So I mean, hey, you have that battle to fight. Hey, we are productive. Hey, we do want to work. Hey, we do want to make something of ourselves. So yeah, it's nice to see.
Well, I want to thank Lou for creating my margarita with Con Bleu. It's always my favorite first drink to go to when we start these podcasts. Thank Mark with the Gaslight, who's doing our sound behind that hidden window over there behind Valerie.
Giant Mac.
And Matt with Media Outlaws, who edits this, films this, and gets us live on YouTube. Well, he doesn't give us live on YouTube, but he gets us value on YouTube.
There you go.
Yeah. Thank the Gaslight for hosting Find Your Inner Flavor podcast. Again, you can catch us on YouTube and on iTunes, and you'll see Greg and I oftentimes working at one of the SymBowl locations.
So take care.